AERC has a research program that is focused on economic research on the continent, using an approach that aims to improve the technical skills of local researchers and strengthening institutions concerned with economic policy research. For more, I'm joined by Professor Lema Stenbert. He's the Executive Director at the African Economic Research Consortium. Professor, thank you so much for making the time to join us. Let's start very broadly. What do research institutions and ones that have capacity bring to the policy-making process and its outcomes?
Thank you for this opportunity to be here. The African Economic Research Consortium came into existence some 25 years ago. The whole idea is to bring rigor and evidence to policy making in Africa. So the idea is to create capacity for individuals to be better informed policymakers, as well as better capacity to do policy analysis and also to conduct policy research. So one of the areas that we grapple with has to do with poverty and growth, political economy, and also to something that is related to CNBC, finance. We have a plenary conference coming up actually on financial inclusion innovation, which is topical now in Africa, especially in this day of this growth syndrome that we have been witnessing in this continent. We feel strongly that to bring about inclusive growth, we also need to promote and enhance financial inclusion.
Of course, Professor, let me jump in then. You've raised the point of inclusive growth, especially on the back of the economic story that we're seeing unfolding on the continent. From where you sit, what is the state of Africa's research institutions from a capacity point of view? Do we have the muscle to harness the growth that we're seeing on this continent into sustainable growth, as you've noted?
Again, beginning with my own institution, which has existed for 25 years, you'll find that the products and the alumni who've been nurtured and through this program, you find them actually in every policy institution in this country. So what you have observed in Africa is not really accidental. It is a labor of extensive financial sector reforms, economic reforms that have actually taken place over the last 25 years. It's almost the life of my own institution. That is also coupled with informed policy making, and policy making that's actually based on rigor and evidence. We have seen growth indicators, which are very impressive, almost in the same proportion of Asian tigers in the 1990s and 80s. But what we have not yet witnessed, where the jury is still out, is the extent to which this growth has been inclusive. Right. Now, there is research and policy initiatives in progress now to enhance inclusive growth. And as I mentioned earlier, inclusive finance is one of them. Having a more robust involvement of private sector, private-public partnership is another way. And also focusing on issues relating to economic diversity.
Professor?
Not only just focusing on manufacturing, but also service sector and other areas so that we will not be vulnerable to outside economic shocks.
Of course, Professor, with limited time, allow me to come to you with perhaps my final question. Today we are looking at the AERC, and so I'll put you on the spot a little bit and ask you, where are your alumni and where do we see their impact on the continent?
Okay, so you find AERC alumni in ministries of finance, in central banks, in universities, and some of them are actually at a very high level. I can actually think of 8 to 9 past and current governors of central banks who have actually gone through the AERC over the last 25 years. And then we have a many of academics who have gone through collaborative training program in economics, who are now teaching in various economics departments, where AERC enhances not only individual capacity, but also capacity of institutions such as economics departments. So we're actually everywhere. This is a network of researchers, policymakers, And also we have a variety of forums for a dialogue with the policy community. Again, with the creation of going back to the case of rigor and evidence to policy making with a potential impact on economic performance in Africa.
Professor, I have to jump in there. Of course, a really fantastic story. Thank you so much for those insights, and we will be following the work of the AERC. It seems as if you're making quite an impact on the African continent.